Hello, everyone. I am Elena, your host for today's lesson. We have practiced daily routines on this channel before, but today we are taking it to a completely new level. Today we are doing our most complete and immersive practice ever. Something I have been planning for a long time, and something I think is going to be one of the most powerful English practice experiences you have ever had. Today, we are spending an entire full day together in English. From the very first moment of the morning to the quiet last thoughts before sleep. Every part of the day, every scene, every feeling, every conversation, all of it in English. This is one full day in English. A complete morning to night shadowing story and practice session designed specifically for B1 to B2 learners. And what makes today's lesson unique is this. We are not just going to practice sentences in isolation. We are going to live a day, a real and recognizable day, with a morning routine, a commute, a work or study scenario, a lunch break, an evening at home, and a quiet night reflection. And throughout every part of that day, you are going to shadow real English sentences, real thoughts, real conversations, and real emotions. Because that is what genuine fluency looks and feels like. English woven into every moment of your real life, not just studied at a desk, but lived. So get comfortable, take a breath, and let's begin our day together, right now. From the very beginning, it is morning. The alarm has just gone off. Maybe it is earlier than you would like. Maybe the room is still dark and the bed feels particularly warm and comfortable. That specific kind of comfortable that only happens when you know you have to get up. And yet, here we are. A new day is beginning, and today, every thought, every observation, every moment of this day is going to happen in English. So let's begin right here, right now, in this first quiet moment of the morning. Listen and shadow. The alarm just went off. The room is still dark and warm. I do not really want to get up yet. But I know that getting up is the right thing to do. So I take a slow breath, push back the covers, and I begin my day. Shadow it. The alarm just went off. The room is dark and warm. I do not want to get up yet, but getting up is the right thing to do. I take a slow breath, push back the covers, and begin my day. Notice how natural those sentences feel. They are not textbook English. They are real English, the kind of English that lives inside a real morning. Now let's continue. Listen. The first thing I do every morning is check how I feel. Not my phone, not my messages, just myself. Am I rested? Am I ready? Am I in a good mood, or do I need a moment to settle into the day? This morning, I feel okay. Not amazing, but okay. And okay is enough to start with. Shadow it. The first thing I do is check how I feel. Not my phone, just myself. Am I rested? Am I ready? This morning, I feel okay. Not amazing, but okay. And okay is enough to start with. Now let's move into the morning routine itself. Because the morning routine is one of the richest sources of everyday English vocabulary, and describing it in English, step by step, is a powerful fluency exercise that connects language directly to the most familiar and habitual part of your day. So shadow these morning routine sentences with me. Listen. I get up and go straight to the bathroom. The water takes a moment to warm up. I splash some cold water on my face first. It wakes me up faster than anything else. Shadow it. I get up and go straight to the bathroom. The water takes a moment to warm up. I splash cold water on my face. It wakes me up faster than anything else. Now let's continue. Listen. I brush my teeth slowly. I look at myself in the mirror. My hair needs attention. My eyes are still a little sleepy. But there is something I like about this moment. The quiet of the morning before the day really begins. Shadow it. I brush my teeth slowly. I look at myself in the mirror. My hair needs attention. My eyes are still sleepy, but I like this moment. The quiet of the morning before the day begins. These simple and honest descriptions are the foundation of genuine everyday English fluency. Now let's add the shower. Listen. The shower is one of my favorite parts of the morning. The hot water is immediately comforting. I let it run over me for a moment before I actually start washing. Just standing there, waking up, letting the warmth bring me fully into the day. Shadow it. The shower is one of my favorite parts of the morning. The hot water is immediately comforting. I let it run over me for a moment. Just standing there, waking up, letting the warmth bring me into the day. Now let's practice getting dressed and thinking about the day ahead. Because the few minutes between getting dressed and leaving the house are often when we have our clearest and most private thoughts. And expressing those thoughts in English is a wonderful inner fluency exercise. Listen. I stand in front of my closet for a moment. I know what I need to wear today, but I still pause and look. It is one of those small daily rituals that I do without thinking. I choose something comfortable but presentable. Something that makes me feel like I am ready. Shadow it. I stand in front of my closet for a moment. I know what to wear, but I still pause and look. I choose something comfortable but presentable. Something that makes me feel ready. Now let's think about the day ahead. Listen. As I get dressed, I start thinking about what today holds. There are a few things I need to get done. A couple of things I am looking forward to. And one or two things I am slightly less excited about. But that is what a real day looks like. A mix of everything. And I feel ready to meet it. Shadow it. As I get dressed, I think about what today holds. A few things to get done. A couple of things I look forward to. One or two things I am less excited about. But that is a real day. A mix of everything. And I feel ready to meet it. Now let's move to breakfast, because breakfast in English is a beautiful vocabulary scene. The sounds, the smells, the simple pleasure of the first meal of the day. And being able to describe and talk about breakfast naturally is a real sign of everyday English fluency. So shadow these breakfast sentences with me. Listen. I go to the kitchen and start making breakfast. The kitchen is quiet at this hour. The light coming through the window is soft and early. I put the kettle on first. I always make my drink before anything else. It is non-negotiable. Shadow it. I go to the kitchen and make breakfast. The kitchen is quiet. The light through the window is soft and early. I put the kettle on first. I always make my drink before anything else. It is non-negotiable. Now let's describe the breakfast itself. Listen, I make something simple this morning. Toast with butter and a soft-boiled egg. And of course, my tea. I sit down at the table and take the first sip of my drink. And that first sip, that first warm and familiar taste, is the moment when the day truly begins for me. Shadow it. I make something simple. Toast with butter and a soft-boiled egg. And my tea. I sit down and take the first sip. That first warm and familiar taste is the moment the day truly begins for me. Now let's add a breakfast reflection. Listen, I try not to look at my phone during breakfast. I know it is a habit many people have, but I prefer to sit quietly with my food and my thoughts for these few minutes. It sets a calmer tone for the rest of the day. And I notice the difference when I skip this quiet time. Shadow it. I try not to look at my phone during breakfast. I prefer to sit quietly with my food and my thoughts. It sets a calmer tone for the day. I notice the difference when I skip this quiet time. Now let's practice some morning mindset English, because the way we talk to ourselves in the morning sets the tone for everything that follows. And building a positive and motivating inner voice in English is one of the most powerful fluency habits you can develop. So shadow these morning mindset sentences with me. Listen, today is a new day, and it belongs entirely to me. Whatever happened yesterday is finished. Whatever challenges are waiting for me today, I will meet them one at a time. I do not need to have everything figured out. I just need to begin. Shadow it. Today is a new day, and it belongs entirely to me. Whatever happened yesterday is finished. I will meet today's challenges one at a time. I do not need everything figured out. I just need to begin. Now let's add some more morning intention setting. Listen, before I leave the house, I take a moment to set a simple intention for the day. Not a long list of goals, just one clear intention. Today, I want to be fully present in every conversation I have. I want to listen well. I want to respond thoughtfully. And I want to use my English with confidence in every situation. Shadow it. I take a moment to set a simple intention for the day. Just one. Today, I want to be fully present in every conversation. I want to listen well, respond thoughtfully, and use my English with confidence in every situation. These morning intention sentences do something remarkable. They prepare your speaking brain for the day before the day has even properly started. And the more consistently you practice this kind of intentional morning thinking in English, the more automatic and natural your English becomes in every real situation that follows. Now, let's practice some English morning affirmations, because the most fluent speakers of any language do not just use it to communicate with others, they use it to communicate with themselves. And building a strong, positive inner voice in English is one of the most transformative habits any learner can develop. So shadow these morning affirmations with me and really let them land as you say them. Listen. I am capable of more than I think. Today, I will push gently past my comfort zone in at least one small way. And I will use my English not as a tool I am still learning, but as a language that already belongs to me. Shadow it. I am capable of more than I think. Today, I will push gently past my comfort zone. I will use my English not as a tool I am still learning, but as a language that already belongs to me. Now, let's add another morning affirmation. Listen. I choose today to be patient with myself. Learning a language is not a sprint. It is a long and winding journey with beautiful moments and difficult ones. And I am committed to walking it consistently and with genuine heart. Shadow it. I choose to be patient with myself. Learning a language is a long, winding journey. I am committed to walking it consistently and with genuine heart. And one more. Listen. I am ready for today, whatever it brings, the expected and the unexpected, the easy and the challenging. I meet it all with open arms and an English-speaking mind. Shadow it. I am ready for today, whatever it brings, the expected and unexpected, the easy and the challenging. I meet it all with open arms and an English-speaking mind. Now, imagine you are leaving the house. You have your bag. You have everything you need. You take one last look around to make sure nothing has been forgotten, and you step outside. This is the moment when the private world of the morning ends and the public world of the day begins. And in English, this transition is worth noticing and describing. Listen. I do one final check before I leave. Keys, phone, everything I need for the day. I take a breath and open the front door. The air outside is fresh and cooler than I expected. The street is already moving. People walking, cars passing, the world fully awake and in motion. Shadow it. I do one final check. Keys, phone, everything I need. I open the front door. The air is fresh and cooler than expected. The street is already moving. People walking, cars passing, the world fully awake and in motion. Beautiful. Now, let's shadow one more departure reflection. Listen. There is something I like about stepping outside in the morning. That moment when you leave the comfort of your home and enter the day. It feels like a small act of courage every single time. Ready or not, the day has begun. Shadow it. There is something I like about stepping outside in the morning, leaving the comfort of home and entering the day. It feels like a small act of courage every time. Ready or not, the day has begun. Before we begin our commute together, take a deep breath in, roll your shoulders back, and let the quiet morning go. You are doing beautifully. Now, let's join the flow of the day. We move into our second part of the day, the commute. Whether you travel by train, bus, car, or on foot, the commute is one of the most underused English practice opportunities in daily life. Most people spend it scrolling through their phones or sitting in silence. But today, and hopefully from today forward, your commute is an English practice session. So let's shadow the commute experience together. Listen. I am on my way to work now. The streets are busier than they were an hour ago. Everyone seems to be heading somewhere with purpose. I join the flow of people, and feel myself shift into a slightly different gear. Work mode is beginning. Shadow it. I am on my way to work. The streets are busier than an hour ago. Everyone is heading somewhere with purpose. I join the flow and shift into a slightly different gear. Work mode is beginning. Now, let's describe the commute environment more specifically. Listen. I take the train today. The platform is crowded, and I find a spot near the edge to wait. When the train arrives, I step inside and find a seat near the window. I watch the city pass by outside and let my mind settle into the rhythm of the journey. Shadow it. I take the train today. The platform is crowded. I find a spot near the edge to wait. The train arrives, and I find a seat near the window. I watch the city pass by and let my mind settle into the rhythm of the journey. Now let's practice some commute English thinking. Because the commute is one of the most natural times for inner reflection, and narrating those reflections in English is excellent fluency training. Listen. On the train, I often use the time to think about the day ahead. What am I going to focus on today? What do I want to accomplish? What conversations might I have, and how do I want to show up in them? These are the kinds of questions I find useful to think through in the morning. Shadow it. On the train, I think about the day ahead. What will I focus on? What do I want to accomplish? What conversations might I have? How do I want to show up in them? These are useful questions to think through in the morning. Now let's practice some commute observation sentences. Because looking around during a commute and describing what you see in English is one of the most natural and effective vocabulary building exercises available. Listen. I look around the train carriage. There is a woman reading a thick paperback book. A man in a suit is reviewing documents on his laptop. Two teenagers are sharing earphones and laughing quietly at something on one of their phones. And an older gentleman near the door is simply looking out of the window with an expression of quiet contentment. Shadow it. I look around the carriage. A woman is reading a thick paperback. A man in a suit reviews documents on his laptop. Two teenagers share earphones and laugh quietly. An older gentleman near the door looks out the window with quiet contentment. These observational sentences build rich, descriptive vocabulary in the most natural and effortless way. Now let's practice something that most English lessons never prepare you for, but that every working person eventually faces. A difficult conversation at work. Maybe someone has made a mistake. Maybe there is a disagreement about how something should be done. Maybe you need to raise a concern with a colleague or manager. These conversations are difficult enough in your first language. In English, they require a very specific vocabulary of tact, respect, and clarity. So let's practice together. Imagine a colleague has submitted work that is not up to the expected standard, and you need to address it. Listen and shadow how you might handle this conversation. I wanted to have a quick chat with you if you have a moment. It is nothing urgent, but there is something I would like to discuss. Shadow it. I wanted to have a quick chat if you have a moment. Nothing urgent, but there is something I would like to discuss. Your colleague agrees to talk. You continue. I have been looking at the report you sent over, and overall, I think there is some really good work in there. However, there are a few sections that I think need a little more development before we share it with the wider team. I wanted to mention it now rather than later so we have time to address it. Shadow it. I have been looking at the report. Overall, there is some really good work in there. However, a few sections need a little more development before we share it widely. I wanted to mention it now so we have time to address it. Your colleague asks what specifically needs work. You explain. The main thing is the data section in the middle. I think it needs a clearer structure so the key findings are easier to follow. And the conclusion could be a little stronger. I can show you what I mean if that would be helpful. Shadow it slowly first. The main thing is the data section in the middle. It needs a clearer structure so the key findings are easier to follow. And the conclusion could be stronger. I can show you what I mean if that would be helpful. Now let's try that exact same sentence one more time, a little faster, at real conversational speed. Do not worry about being perfect, just follow my rhythm. The main thing is the data section in the middle. It needs a clearer structure so the key findings are easier to follow, and the conclusion could be stronger. I can show you what I mean if that would be helpful. Your colleague thanks you and says they appreciate the feedback. You close warmly. Listen and shadow. I really appreciate you being open to this. I know it is never easy to hear that something needs more work, but I genuinely think with a few adjustments, this will be a really strong piece. Let me know if you want to sit together and work through it. Shadow it. I appreciate you being open to this. I know it is never easy to hear something needs more work, but with a few adjustments, this will be a really strong piece. Let me know if you want to sit together and work through it. These difficult conversation sentences are diplomatic, respectful, and professionally excellent. And having them stored in your automatic speaking memory means you will never avoid a necessary conversation out of fear of your English letting you down. Now let's practice some deeper commute reflection English. Because the commute is not just a physical journey from one place to another. It is a mental transition, and narrating that transition in English is one of the most intimate and powerful fluency exercises in this entire session. Listen, I noticed something interesting about myself on the commute. My mind works differently when I am moving. Ideas come more freely. Connections between things I have been thinking about suddenly become clearer. And problems that felt heavy and stuck yesterday sometimes reveal their solutions on a Tuesday morning train. Shadow it. My mind works differently when I am moving. Ideas come more freely. Connections become clearer. Problems that felt stuck sometimes reveal their solutions on a Tuesday morning train. Now let's practice some more commute vocabulary through a longer observation exercise. Look around you, or imagine looking around, and shadow these detailed people-watching sentences. Listen. The woman sitting across from me has a coffee cup in one hand and a folded newspaper in the other. She has clearly done this commute many times before. She moves with the rhythm of the train without thinking. Comfortable and automatic, like someone who has learned the language of this particular journey. Shadow it. The woman across from me has coffee in one hand and a folded newspaper in the other. She has done this commute many times. She moves with the train without thinking. Comfortable and automatic, like someone who has learned the language of this particular journey. Now let's add one more commute observation. Listen. There is a young man standing near the doors with earphones in and his eyes half closed. He is either listening to music or trying to catch a few more minutes of sleep standing up. I recognize that particular kind of tired. the kind that is not from lack of sleep, but from the accumulated weight of a busy week. Shadow it. A young man stands near the doors with earphones in and eyes half closed, listening to music or catching a few minutes of sleep standing up. I recognize that kind of tired, not from lack of sleep, from the accumulated weight of a busy week. These rich and empathetic observations show exactly the kind of descriptive and emotionally intelligent English that marks a truly fluent B1 to B2 speaker. Now let's practice handling an unexpected situation during the commute, because real life does not always follow the plan, and being able to respond to the unexpected in English calmly and naturally is one of the most important fluency skills there is. Imagine that today the train is delayed. An announcement comes over the speaker. Listen and shadow what you might say or think in this moment. The train has been delayed by approximately 15 minutes due to a signal failure further down the line. I take a breath. This is frustrating, but it is outside of my control. I check my phone for messages. I send a quick note to let someone know I might be a few minutes late. And then I put my phone away and decide to use this unexpected extra time well. Shadow it. The train is delayed by 15 minutes. I take a breath. Frustrating, but outside my control. I check my phone. I send a quick note to say I might be a few minutes late. Then I put my phone away and decide to use this extra time well. Now let's practice the message you might send. Listen and shadow. Hi, just to let you know, the train is running late this morning due to a signal issue. I should be there around 15 minutes later than planned. Apologies for the inconvenience. I will be in touch if anything changes. Shadow it. Hi, the train is running late due to a signal issue. I should be there around 15 minutes later than planned. Apologies for the inconvenience. I will be in touch if anything changes. Now let's practice staying calm and using the delay productively. Listen. Standing on this platform waiting, I could feel annoyed. I could scroll through my phone looking for distraction. But instead, I choose to use these 15 minutes well. I stand quietly. I breathe. I notice the world around me, and I shadow English sentences in my head. Because even a delayed train is a learning opportunity if I choose to make it one. Shadow it. Standing on the platform waiting, I could feel annoyed. I could scroll through my phone. But instead, I choose to use these 15 minutes well. I stand quietly. I breathe. I notice the world. And I shadow English in my head. Even a delayed train is a learning opportunity if I choose to make it one. This unexpected situation practice is incredibly valuable because real life is full of moments that do not go to plan. And the learner who can navigate those moments in English with grace and calm is the learner who has truly achieved fluency. Now let's practice arriving at work or at a place of study. Because the arrival, the greeting of colleagues, the settling in, these are all rich English practice moments that happen every single day but rarely get practiced. So let's shadow them now. Listen. I arrive at work and push open the front door. The familiar sounds and smells of the office greet me. A colleague near the entrance looks up and smiles. "Good morning," she says. "Good morning," I reply. "How are you today?" She says she is well and asks the same of me. I tell her I am good. Looking forward to getting started. Shadow it. I arrive at work and push open the front door. The familiar sounds and smells greet me. A colleague looks up and smiles. "Good morning," she says. "Good morning. How are you today?" She is well. I am good. Looking forward to getting started. Now, let's add a slightly longer arrival conversation. Listen. As I walk to my desk, I pass another colleague who asks if I had a good evening. I tell him yes, it was quiet but nice. I cooked something at home and had an early night. He nods and says that sounds ideal. He wishes he had done the same. We both laugh a little and then settle into our respective mornings. Shadow it. Walking to my desk, a colleague asks if I had a good evening. Yes, it was quiet but nice. I cooked at home and had an early night. That sounds ideal, he says. He wishes he had done the same. We both laugh and settle into our mornings. These small arrival conversations are some of the most common and most natural in any workplace. And practicing them now means they will flow effortlessly when you need them. Now we are at work or study, and this is where a significant part of the day is spent. So let's practice a range of work and study English scenarios that every B1 to B2 learner needs. First, let's practice a brief team meeting or check-in. Imagine your team gathers for a short morning update. Shadow your contributions to this meeting. The team leader asks what everyone is working on today. Shadow your answer. This morning, I am going to finish the report I started yesterday. I should have it ready by lunchtime. And this afternoon, I want to start on the next section of the project. Shadow it. This morning, I am finishing the report I started yesterday. I should have it ready by lunchtime. This afternoon, I want to start the next section of the project. Now imagine a colleague asks for your opinion on something. Listen and shadow. That is a good question. I think the most important thing is to make sure the deadline is realistic. If we rush this, we risk making mistakes that will cost us more time later. I would rather take an extra day and do it properly. Shadow it. The most important thing is making sure the deadline is realistic. If we rush, we risk mistakes that cost more time later. I would rather take an extra day and do it properly. Now let's practice asking a question at work. Listen and shadow. I have a quick question if you have a moment. I want to make sure I understand the brief correctly before I go any further. Could you clarify what the main priority is for this task? Shadow it. I have a quick question if you have a moment. I want to understand the brief correctly before going further. Could you clarify the main priority for this task? These workplace sentences are professional, natural, and completely appropriate for a B1 to B2 level speaker in any work environment. Now let's practice something that many B1 to B2 learners need, but rarely practice out loud. Professional written English. Specifically, the kind of language you use when writing emails or messages at work or in academic settings. Because even though this is spoken practice, saying these sentences out loud helps your brain store the patterns and makes writing them feel far more natural and automatic. So shadow these professional email phrases with me. Listen. I am writing to follow up on our conversation from last week. I wanted to check in and see if there have been any updates on our end. Please let me know if there is anything you need from me in the meantime. Shadow it. I am writing to follow up on our conversation from last week. I wanted to check in and see if there have been any updates. Please let me know if there is anything you need from me. Now let's try another professional message. Listen. Thank you for your email. I have reviewed the document you sent, and I have a few comments and suggestions that I think will strengthen it. I will send them over by the end of today. Shadow it. Thank you for your email. I have reviewed the document and have a few comments and suggestions that will strengthen it. I will send them over by the end of today. And one more. Listen. I wanted to reach out to let you know that I will be out of the office on Friday. If anything urgent comes up, please contact my colleague who will be happy to help. Shadow it. I wanted to let you know I will be out of the office on Friday. If anything urgent comes up, please contact my colleague who will be happy to help. These professional phrases are clean, confident, and perfectly calibrated for B1 to B2 level. And saying them out loud through shadowing stores them in your active language memory far more effectively than simply reading them on a screen. Now let's practice one of the most challenging real-life English situations for intermediate learners: a phone call during the working day. Phone calls require a very specific set of skills. You cannot see the person. You cannot use facial expressions or body language to help communicate. And everything depends on the clarity and confidence of your spoken English alone. So let's practice a realistic workplace phone call together. Imagine your phone rings mid-morning. You answer it. Listen and shadow your side of this call. You answer, "Good morning, this is Elena speaking. How can I help you?" The caller introduces themselves and explains they are calling about a project update. You respond, "Of course, thank you for calling. I was actually planning to reach out to you about this today. Let me just pull up the relevant information. One moment, please." Shadow it. "Of course, thank you for calling. I was planning to reach out about this today. Let me pull up the relevant information. One moment, please." The caller asks about the current status of the project. You respond, "We are currently on track with the timeline we agreed. The first phase has been completed, and we are moving into the second phase this week. There have been no major issues so far, but there is one small point I wanted to flag with you." Shadow it. "We are currently on track with the agreed timeline. The first phase is complete, and we are moving into the second phase this week. No major issues so far, but there is one small point I wanted to flag." The caller asks what the point is. You explain, "It is nothing critical, but I wanted to make you aware that we may need an additional 2 or 3 days for the review process. I want to make sure the quality is exactly right before we move to the final stage. Would that be okay with your timeline?" Shadow it slowly first. "It is nothing critical. We may need an additional 2 or 3 days for the review process. I want to make sure the quality is exactly right before the final stage. Would that be okay with your timeline?" And now at natural native speed. "It is nothing critical. We may need an additional 2 or 3 days for the review process. I want to make sure the quality is exactly right before the final stage. Would that be okay with your timeline?" The caller confirms that is fine. You close the call warmly. Listen and shadow. "That is great. Thank you so much for your flexibility. I will send you a written update by end of day, so you have everything confirmed in writing. Thank you for calling. I look forward to speaking again soon. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye." Shadow it. "That is great. Thank you for your flexibility. I will send a written update by end of day. Thank you for calling. I look forward to speaking again soon. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye." Notice how every sentence in that phone call is clear, professional, and completely natural at B1 to B2 level. No complex grammar, no advanced vocabulary, just confident and well-structured spoken English that gets the job done beautifully. Now let's practice some study scenario English. Because many of your listeners are students rather than working professionals, and the academic environment has its own rich vocabulary and conversational needs. Listen. I am in the library this morning working on an assignment that is due later this week. I have my notes spread out around me. My laptop is open, and I am trying to focus despite the low hum of other students working nearby. Shadow it. I am in the library working on an assignment due later this week. My notes are spread out around me. My laptop is open. I am trying to focus despite the low hum of nearby students. Now let's practice a study group interaction. Imagine you are working with a classmate on a project. Listen and shadow. I think we should divide the work more clearly between us. That way, we can each focus on our strongest areas and come together at the end with something really solid. What do you think? Shadow it. I think we should divide the work more clearly. Each of us focuses on our strongest areas, and we come together at the end with something solid. What do you think? Now imagine your classmate suggests something you are not sure about. Listen and shadow. I see what you mean, but I am not completely convinced that is the best approach for this particular assignment. Can we talk through the alternatives before we decide? Shadow it. I see what you mean, but I am not completely convinced that is the best approach. Can we talk through the alternatives before deciding? Natural, collaborative, and perfectly expressed at B1 to B2 level. Now, let's go deeper into the lunchtime experience with a longer and more detailed social conversation practice. Because lunchtime conversations are where some of the most natural and meaningful English happens. And the ability to sustain a warm and engaging conversation over a full lunch break is a genuine marker of social fluency in any language. So let's shadow a more extended lunchtime exchange together. You are sitting with a colleague, and the conversation moves from work to more personal topics. This is where real connection happens. And this is where English needs to feel genuinely comfortable and natural. Listen. Your colleague asks if you have been doing anything interesting outside of work lately. Shadow your response. Actually, yes. I have been trying to be more intentional about how I spend my evenings. I have been reading more, getting outside more, trying to cook proper meals rather than just grabbing whatever is easiest. It sounds small, but it has made a real difference to how I feel. Shadow it. Actually, yes, I have been more intentional about my evenings, reading more, getting outside more, cooking proper meals rather than just grabbing whatever is easiest. It sounds small, but it has made a real difference to how I feel. Your colleague says, "That sounds really healthy," and asks what you have been reading. Shadow your response. I just finished something I really enjoyed. It was a novel recommended by a friend. I had been putting it off for ages, but once I started, I could not put it down. You know that feeling when a book completely takes over your evenings? Shadow it. I just finished something I really enjoyed. A novel recommended by a friend. I had been putting it off, but once I started, I could not put it down. You know that feeling when a book takes over your evenings? Your colleague says yes and shares something they have been watching recently. You respond, "Oh, I have heard of that. It has been on my list for a while. Is it as good as people say? Because I have been burned before by things that were overhyped. Shadow it. Oh, I have heard of that. It has been on my list. Is it as good as people say? I have been burned before by things that were overhyped. Your colleague laughs and assures you it lives up to the hype. You say, "Right, that is it then. I am starting it tonight. You have convinced me." Shadow it. Right, that is it then. I am starting it tonight. You have convinced me. Now notice how that entire extended lunchtime conversation flowed. There was no complex grammar, no advanced vocabulary, just warm, natural, genuine human connection expressed in clear and flowing B1 to B2 English. The ability to have a conversation like that, to move seamlessly from one topic to another, to laugh and respond and share and connect, that is what fluency actually feels like in real life. Not a test, not a translation exercise, but a real human moment in English. Let's now practice some more lunchtime conversation vocabulary that helps you navigate different topics smoothly. Shadow these transition phrases with me. Anyway, enough about work. What have you been up to? Shadow it. That reminds me of something that happened recently. Shadow it. I know exactly what you mean. I went through something similar last year. Shadow it. On a completely different note, have you heard about? Shadow it. That is so interesting. I never would have thought about it that way. Shadow it. We should definitely do something about that. Let us make a plan. Shadow it. These conversational connectors are the oil that keeps a lunchtime conversation moving naturally from one moment to the next. And having them available automatically means you will never feel the conversation run dry or become awkward because you have run out of things to say. Now it is lunchtime, and lunchtime deserves its own section because it is one of the most socially rich parts of any working or studying day. It is when conversations happen naturally, when relationships deepen, and when English flows in its most casual and genuine form. So let's shadow the lunchtime experience together. Listen. It is almost 1 o'clock, and I am ready for a break. I save my work, close my laptop, and stretch my arms above my head. The morning went quickly. I got a lot done, and now I am genuinely hungry and ready to step away from the desk for a while. Shadow it. It is almost 1 o'clock, and I am ready for a break. I save my work, close my laptop, and stretch. The morning went quickly. I got a lot done. I am genuinely hungry and ready to step away. Now let's describe the lunch itself. Listen. I brought my lunch from home today. I try to do that a few times a week because it saves money, and I generally eat better when I prepare my own food. I have a simple salad with some bread and a piece of fruit for afterwards. Nothing complicated, but satisfying and exactly what I needed. Shadow it. I brought lunch from home today. I try to do that a few times a week. It saves money, and I eat better when I prepare my own food. A simple salad with bread and fruit. Nothing complicated, but satisfying and exactly what I needed. Now let's practice a lunchtime conversation with a colleague or classmate. Because lunchtime conversations are where real relationships are built. And being able to hold a warm and natural lunchtime conversation in English is one of the clearest signs of genuine social fluency. Listen. I sit with a colleague I get along with well. We talk about our mornings. She had a difficult meeting that did not go as planned. I listen and ask a few questions. I tell her that sounds frustrating and that I can see why she is feeling a bit flat about it. She appreciates being heard. We talk about other things too. Plans for the weekend, something funny that happened yesterday. The kind of light and easy conversation that makes a lunch break feel genuinely restorative. Shadow it. I sit with a colleague I get along with. We talk about our mornings. She had a difficult meeting. I listen and ask questions. That sounds frustrating, I tell her. We talk about other things too. Weekend plans, something funny from yesterday. Light and easy conversation that makes a break feel genuinely restorative. Now let's practice some specific lunchtime conversation phrases. Shadow these with me. So, how has your morning been? Shadow it. That sounds like it was a lot to deal with. Are you feeling okay about it now? Shadow it. I know exactly what you mean. I have been in situations like that before. Shadow it. So, what are you up to this weekend? Anything fun planned? Shadow it. Oh, that sounds really nice. I have been meaning to do something like that for ages. Shadow it. These conversational phrases are warm, genuine, and exactly the kind of English that builds real human connection. Now let's move into the afternoon, because the afternoon has its own particular energy. It is past the fresh momentum of the morning, but not yet at the satisfied tiredness of the evening. And for many people, the afternoon is the most demanding part of the day because it requires sustained focus without the natural energy boost of a fresh start. So let's shadow some afternoon English together. Listen. The afternoon always feels a little slower than the morning for me. The post-lunch heaviness is real. I have to be intentional about staying focused during these hours. I make another drink. I reorganize my notes slightly. And I remind myself of what I want to accomplish before the end of the day. Shadow it. The afternoon always feels a little slower. The post-lunch heaviness is real. I have to be intentional about staying focused. I make another drink. I reorganize my notes. I remind myself what I want to accomplish before the end of the day. Now let's practice a mid-afternoon conversation. Maybe a quick exchange with a colleague who passes your desk. Listen. A colleague stops by and asks how the report is going. I tell him it is coming along well. Almost done, actually. He looks relieved and says that is great because the manager has been asking about it. I nod and tell him I will have it finished within the hour. He thanks me and moves on. Shadow it. A colleague asks how the report is going. It is coming along well. Almost done, actually. He looks relieved. The manager has been asking about it. I will have it finished within the hour. He thanks me and moves on. Now let's practice talking about how the day is going, because one of the most common English conversations in any work or study environment is the simple midday check-in. How is it going? Is everything okay? Are you managing all right? And being able to respond naturally and expressively to these questions is a real conversational skill. Shadow these mid-afternoon responses with me. Listen. Honestly, it has been a productive day. I got more done this morning than I expected, which means the afternoon feels a little lighter. Shadow it. Honestly, it has been a productive day. I got more done this morning than expected. The afternoon feels a little lighter. Now another. Listen. It has been a bit of a mixed day, actually. Some things went really well, but one thing took much longer than I planned. I am still catching up. Shadow it. It has been a mixed day. Some things went well, but one thing took much longer than planned. I am still catching up. And one more. Listen. Pretty good, actually. I have managed to stay focused, which does not always happen on a Tuesday afternoon. I think I will be in a good place by the end of the day. Shadow it. Pretty good, actually. I have managed to stay focused, which does not always happen on a Tuesday afternoon. I think I will be in a good place by the end of the day. These authentic and nuanced responses make you sound genuinely fluent because they reflect real experience rather than practiced perfect answers. Now, let's practice talking about energy management during the day, because every honest account of a working or studying day includes moments when your energy dips and you have to actively manage it. And being able to talk about this in English is both authentic and deeply useful. Listen. I notice around 3 in the afternoon that my concentration is starting to waver. I have been focused for several hours now, and my brain is beginning to tire. I step away from my desk for a few minutes. I walk to the window and look outside. I breathe. And when I return to my seat, I feel noticeably more capable of continuing. Shadow it. Around 3 in the afternoon, my concentration starts to waver. I have been focused for hours and my brain is tiring. I step away from my desk. I walk to the window. I breathe. When I return, I feel noticeably more capable of continuing. Now, let's add some self-talk for difficult afternoon moments, because the things we say to ourselves when energy is low are just as important as the conversations we have with other people. Listen. When the afternoon feels difficult, I try to remind myself of a few simple things. I have done hard things before. I will get through this. The tiredness is real, but it is not permanent. And the satisfaction of finishing what I started will be worth the effort of pushing through. Shadow it. When the afternoon feels difficult, I remind myself of simple things. I have done hard things before. I will get through this. The tiredness is real, but not permanent. The satisfaction of finishing will be worth the effort of pushing through. Now let's practice one more afternoon self-motivation sentence. Listen. I give myself a small reward to look forward to. After this is finished, I will make a good cup of something warm and take 10 minutes completely away from work. That small promise to myself is enough to get me through the last stretch. Shadow it. I give myself a small reward to look forward to. After this is finished, I will make something warm and take 10 minutes away from work. That small promise is enough to get me through the last stretch. These self-talk sentences in English are incredibly powerful because they train your brain to think supportively and motivationally in the language itself. Now the working day is ending. The last tasks are being wrapped up. Notes are being saved. Bags are being packed. And that particular end-of-day feeling is setting in. The feeling of having done something, of having shown up and done the work. And in English, that feeling deserves to be expressed. So let's shadow the end of the working day together. Listen. It is getting close to the end of the day now. I finish the last thing on my list. I save everything carefully. I do a quick check to make sure nothing important has been left undone. And then I close my laptop with a satisfying sense of completion. Shadow it. It is close to the end of the day. I finished the last thing on my list. I save everything carefully. A quick check to make sure nothing is left undone. Then I close my laptop with a satisfying sense of completion. Now let's practice some end-of-day conversations. Imagine a colleague says goodbye as they head out. Listen and shadow this exchange. Right. I am heading off now. It was a good day. I hope the rest of yours goes well. Shadow your response. You too. Have a good evening. See you tomorrow. Now imagine your manager passes and acknowledges your work. Listen and shadow. Thank you for getting that report finished today. It was exactly what we needed. Shadow your response. Of course. I am glad it was helpful. Let me know if you need any changes. Have a good evening. These end-of-day phrases are natural, warm, and professionally appropriate. And having them ready means every working day ends smoothly and confidently in English. Before we step out of the workplace and into the evening, take just a moment to stretch your arms, take a slow breath, and consciously release the focus of the working day. Your brain has been working hard in English. Let that effort settle, and let's transition into the evening together. We move into the evening, and the evening is a completely different world from the workday. It is the time that belongs to you, your space, your pace, your choices. And describing and reflecting on the evening in English is one of the richest and most personal forms of fluency practice available. So let's shadow the journey home together first. Listen. I step outside into the evening air. It is noticeably cooler now than when I arrived this morning. The light is softer and more golden. The city feels different in the evening, less hurried, less purposeful, more human somehow. I join the flow of people heading home and feel the day begin to release its grip on me. Shadow it. I step outside into the evening air, cooler than this morning. The light is softer and more golden. The city feels different, less hurried, more human. I join the flow of people heading home and feel the day begin to release its grip. Now let's describe the journey home. Listen. On the way home, I do not think about work. I have a personal rule about that. Once I leave the building, I leave the work there too. The commute home is for decompressing, for letting the day settle, for transitioning back into my personal life. Shadow it. On the way home, I do not think about work. I have a personal rule. Once I leave the building, I leave the work there too. The commute home is for decompressing, for letting the day settle, for transitioning back to my personal life. Now let's practice some deeper evening reflection about the balance of a full day. Because one of the most meaningful things you can do with language is use it to make sense of your own experience. And the evening is the perfect time for exactly that. Listen. I think about how the day balanced out in the end. There were moments of real focus and productivity. There were moments of connection with other people. There were moments of frustration that I managed to move through. And there were moments of simple, quiet pleasure. Taken together, it was a good day. Not a perfect day, but a genuinely good one. Shadow it. I think about how the day balanced out. Moments of real focus and productivity. Moments of connection. Moments of frustration I managed to move through. Moments of simple, quiet pleasure. Taken together, it was a good day. Not perfect, but genuinely good. Now let's add a reflection about the English practice woven through the whole day. Listen. I also think about the English that ran through every part of today. The morning thoughts, the commute observations, the workplace conversations, the lunchtime exchange, the afternoon self-talk, the evening cooking and resting, all of it in English. And I realized that I did not study English today. I lived it. I used it the way people use their first language, not as a subject, but as the medium through which I experienced my day. Shadow it. I think about the English that ran through every part of today. Morning thoughts, commute observations, workplace conversations, lunchtime exchange, afternoon self-talk, evening cooking and resting, all of it in English. I did not study English today. I lived it, not as a subject, but as the medium through which I experienced my day. Let that realization settle into you completely, because it is one of the most important things any English learner can experience. Now let's practice some evening phone and social media English, because the evening is also when many people catch up on messages, social media, and online conversations. And this is another rich area of natural, everyday English. Listen. I check my messages in the evening. There are a few conversations to respond to. A friend has sent me something funny, and I reply with a quick reaction and a short message back. Another friend has asked if I am free this weekend. I think about it for a moment and then write back that yes, I think I can make something work. Let me know the details and I will confirm. Shadow it. I check my messages. A friend sent something funny. I reply with a quick reaction and short message. Another friend asks if I am free this weekend. I think for a moment. Yes, I think I can make something work. Let me know the details and I will confirm. Now let's practice some casual digital communication phrases. Shadow these with me. Ha, that is hilarious. I needed that today. Shadow it. That sounds really good. Count me in. Shadow it. Sorry, I missed your message earlier. It has been one of those days. Shadow it. That is so good to hear. I am really happy for you. Shadow it. Let me know how it goes. I am rooting for you. Shadow it. I cannot make it this time, but let us plan something soon. Shadow it. These casual digital phrases are part of everyday modern English, and using them naturally and confidently is a genuine mark of contemporary fluency. Now let's move into the home itself. The door opens. The shoes come off. The bag goes down. And the evening begins. Shadow these arrival home sentences with me. Listen. I get home and immediately feel my body relax. There is something about being in your own space that nothing else can replicate. I change into something comfortable. I put my work things away. And I take a moment to just stand in the kitchen and breathe. The day is done, and this time is mine. Shadow it. I get home and feel my body relax. There is something about being in your own space that nothing else can replicate. I change into something comfortable. I put my work things away. I stand in the kitchen and breathe. The day is done. This time is mine. Now let's practice describing what you do in the first moments at home. Listen. The first thing I do when I get home is make a drink and sit down for 10 minutes. Not doing anything in particular, just sitting, letting the transition from work to home happen naturally. These 10 minutes are important to me. They are a kind of buffer between the two worlds of my day. Shadow it. The first thing I do is make a drink and sit for 10 minutes. Not doing anything in particular, just sitting, letting the transition from work to home happen naturally. These 10 minutes are a buffer between the two worlds of my day. Now let's practice the dinner scene. Because cooking and eating dinner at home is one of the most everyday and most universal human experiences. And describing it in English builds warm and natural vocabulary that feels genuinely lived in. Listen. I decide to cook this evening. Nothing complicated, but I want something warm and homemade. I look in the refrigerator and assess what I have. I find vegetables, some pasta, and the beginning of a sauce. Good enough. I put some music on quietly and start preparing. Shadow it. I decide to cook this evening. Nothing complicated, just something warm and homemade. I look in the refrigerator and assess what I have. Vegetables, pasta, the beginning of a sauce. Good enough. I put music on quietly and start preparing. Now let's describe the cooking itself. Listen. There is something meditative about cooking after a long day. The chopping, the stirring, the smells that begin to fill the kitchen. My mind quietens as I focus on the simple physical task in front of me. And by the time the food is ready, I feel genuinely restored. Shadow it. There is something meditative about cooking after a long day. The chopping, the stirring, the smells filling the kitchen. My mind quietens as I focus on the simple task. By the time food is ready, I feel genuinely restored. Now let's add the eating itself. Listen. I sit down to eat and take the first bite. It is good. Simple but good. I did not follow a recipe. I just used what I had and trusted my instincts. And there is a particular satisfaction in that, in feeding yourself with something you made yourself. Shadow it. I sit down and take the first bite. It is good. Simple but good. No recipe. Just what I had and my instincts. There is a particular satisfaction in feeding yourself with something you made yourself. Now let's practice some evening at home English. The quieter, more personal moments of the evening. Reading, watching something, thinking. All of these are rich English practice opportunities. Listen. After dinner, I wash the dishes and then give myself permission to do nothing productive for a while. I sit on the sofa. Maybe I turn on something to watch. Maybe I pick up a book. Maybe I just sit quietly with my thoughts. This unstructured evening time feels increasingly precious to me. Shadow it. After dinner, I wash the dishes and give myself permission to do nothing productive. I sit on the sofa. Maybe I watch something. Maybe I read. Maybe I sit quietly with my thoughts. This unstructured evening time feels increasingly precious. Now let's add a reflection about the balance between productivity and rest. Listen. I used to feel guilty about spending evenings just resting. I felt like I should always be doing something useful. But I have learned that rest is useful, that a quiet evening is not wasted time. It is recovery time, and recovery is what makes tomorrow's effort possible. Shadow it. I used to feel guilty about resting in the evenings. I felt I should always be doing something useful. But rest is useful. A quiet evening is not wasted time. It is recovery time, and recovery makes tomorrow's effort possible. Now let's practice some weekend and social planning English. Because one of the most common and enjoyable forms of evening conversation is talking about plans, making arrangements, and looking forward to time with people you care about. And being fluent in this kind of social English makes your relationships in English feel warm and real, rather than formal and stilted. So imagine you are making a phone call or having a conversation with a friend about weekend plans. Listen and shadow your side of this conversation. You call your friend and they answer. You say, "Hey, how are you? I have been meaning to call all week. How has everything been?" Your friend says they are well and asks what you are up to this weekend. You respond, "I am pretty free, actually. I was thinking it might be nice to do something together if you are around. I have not seen you in a while, and I miss catching up properly." Shadow it. I am pretty free this weekend. I was thinking it might be nice to do something together if you are around. I have not seen you in a while, and I miss catching up properly. Your friend suggests meeting for lunch on Saturday. You respond, "Saturday lunch sounds perfect. Is there somewhere you have been wanting to try? I am happy to go somewhere new, or we could go back to that place we both love. Whatever works for you." Shadow it. Saturday lunch sounds perfect. Is there somewhere you have been wanting to try? I am happy to go somewhere new, or go back to that place we both love. Whatever works for you. Your friend suggests a new place they have heard about. You respond, "Oh, I have heard of that place. I have been curious about it for a while. Let us do it. Shall we say 1:00? I can book a table if you like." Shadow it. "Oh, I have heard of that place. I have been curious about it. Let us do it. Shall we say 1:00? I can book a table if you like." Your friend agrees and says they are looking forward to it. You close warmly. Listen and shadow. Me too. It will be really good to catch up. I feel like there is so much to talk about. See you Saturday then. Take care of yourself until then. Shadow it. Me too. It will be really good to catch up. I feel like there is so much to talk about. See you Saturday. Take care of yourself until then. Now let's add some more social planning vocabulary. These are phrases you might use when organizing something with a group of people. Shadow these with me. What works best for everyone? Shadow it. I am flexible, so whatever suits the majority is fine with me. Shadow it. Should we make a reservation, or do you think we can just walk in? Shadow it. I can send a message to the group to confirm the details. Shadow it. Let us say we meet outside at 1:45 and then go in together. Shadow it. These social organizing phrases are the kind of English that makes you a natural and easy person to make plans with. And that ease, that effortlessness in social coordination, is a beautiful marker of genuine conversational fluency. Now let's practice talking about what you watch or listen to in the evening. Because consuming English content in the evening is one of the most natural and enjoyable ways to keep your brain connected to the language outside of formal practice. And being able to talk about what you watch and why is a genuinely useful conversational skill. Listen, this evening I put on something to watch in English, a series I have been following for a few weeks now. I find that watching with subtitles in English rather than in my first language makes a real difference. I pick up natural phrases. I hear how native speakers express emotions and humor and conflict. And I notice that over time, my ear has become sharper. Things I used to need to rewind and re-listen to, I now catch the first time. Shadow it. This evening, I put on something to watch in English, a series I have been following. I watch with English subtitles. I pick up natural phrases. I hear how native speakers express emotions and humor and conflict. My ear has become sharper over time. Things I used to rewind, I now catch the first time. Now let's practice talking about a specific show or film in English, because recommending something you have watched is one of the most common and enjoyable forms of everyday English conversation. Listen, the series I am watching at the moment is really well written. The characters feel genuinely real. The dialogue is sharp and natural. And the storyline keeps me genuinely curious about what happens next. I find myself thinking about it during the day sometimes, which I think is the sign of a really good story. Shadow it. The series I am watching is really well written. The characters feel genuinely real. The dialogue is sharp and natural. The storyline keeps me curious about what happens next. I find myself thinking about it during the day. That is the sign of a really good story. Now let's practice recommending something to a friend. Listen, if you have not seen it yet, I would really recommend it. I think you would enjoy it. It has the kind of storytelling that draws you in immediately and does not let go. Give the first episode a try and see what you think. I would be curious to hear your reaction. Shadow it. If you have not seen it, I would really recommend it. I think you would enjoy it. The kind of storytelling that draws you in and does not let go. Give the first episode a try. I would be curious to hear your reaction. Now let's also practice talking about books in the evening context, because many English learners are also readers, and discussing books in English is a beautiful and sophisticated form of conversation. Listen, I have also been reading in the evenings lately. Something I borrowed from a friend a few weeks ago that I finally started this week. Reading in English has gotten easier over time. I no longer feel like I am working to understand every sentence. I simply read, and the story unfolds naturally in English without me having to translate it mentally, which is a wonderful feeling. Shadow it. I have been reading in the evenings lately. Something borrowed from a friend. Reading in English has gotten easier. I no longer feel like I am working to understand every sentence. I simply read. the story unfolds naturally in English without mental translation, which is a wonderful feeling. And is there a more perfect description of what English fluency actually feels like in practice? The language simply flowing, naturally, without effort, without translation, without the gap between thought and expression. Just English, as natural as breathing. Now let's practice some journaling English. Because many language learners find that writing a few sentences in English each evening is one of the most powerful and personal fluency habits they can build. But today, instead of writing, we are going to speak those journal thoughts out loud. Because saying your inner thoughts in English out loud is even more powerful than writing them. It forces the language into your voice, your breath, your body, and that embodied English is the most natural and lasting kind. So shadow these journal-style thoughts with me, as if you are speaking them directly from your own experience. Listen. Today, I want to write about the feeling of a full day well lived. Not a perfect day, not a day of major achievements, but a day where I showed up, where I did the work, where I was present in my conversations, and where I came home feeling tired but satisfied rather than depleted and hollow. Shadow it. Today, I want to write about the feeling of a full day well lived. Not perfect, not a day of major achievements, but a day where I showed up, did the work, was present in conversations, and came home feeling tired but satisfied, rather than depleted and hollow. Now let's add another journal entry. Listen. Something happened today that I want to remember. A small moment of genuine connection with a colleague during our lunchtime conversation. She shared something personal, and I listened well and responded with real care. And afterwards, she said, "Thank you for listening." It reminded me that being a good listener is just as important as being a good speaker. Shadow it. Something happened today I want to remember. A moment of genuine connection during lunch. She shared something personal, and I listened well and responded with real care. Afterwards, she said, "Thank you for listening." It reminded me that being a good listener is just as important as being a good speaker. Now, let's try one more journal thought. This one is about the English practice woven through the day. Listen. I also want to note that today I used my English in real ways, not just in formal study, but in actual moments of communication. I had a phone call that went well. I contributed clearly in a meeting. I had a warm conversation at lunch. And I ended the day by shadowing sentences about the very experiences I had lived. That is the kind of practice that changes everything. Shadow it. Today, I used my English in real ways, not just in formal study. In actual communication, a phone call that went well, a clear contribution in a meeting, a warm lunch conversation, and I ended the day shadowing sentences about the experiences I had lived. That is the kind of practice that changes everything. These journal-style reflections are some of the richest and most personal English in this entire session. And speaking them out loud, in your own voice, is one of the most powerful things you can do to make English feel genuinely and permanently yours. Now, let's practice talking about your evening habits and the small rituals that make an evening feel complete. Because talking about your personal routines and habits is one of the most natural and revealing forms of everyday English conversation. Listen. I have a few evening rituals that I have built up over time. I try to read for at least 20 minutes before bed. I find it helps my mind slow down more effectively than anything on a screen. I make a final cup of something warm, and I try to spend a few minutes thinking about one thing that went well today. Just one. It does not have to be big. Shadow it. I have a few evening rituals built up over time. I try to read for at least 20 minutes before bed. It helps my mind slow down better than anything on a screen. I make a final warm drink, and I think about one thing that went well today. Just one. It does not have to be big. Now, let's add another evening habit reflection. Listen. I have also been trying to put my phone away at least an hour before I sleep. It is harder than I expected. The phone is such a habit. But on the nights when I manage it, I sleep more deeply and I wake up feeling more rested. So I keep trying. Shadow it. I have been trying to put my phone away an hour before sleep. It is harder than expected, but on the nights I manage it, I sleep more deeply and wake up more rested. So I keep trying. Now we reach the final and perhaps most beautiful part of our day together, the night reflection. This is the time just before sleep when the mind does its quietest and most honest thinking. When the day is reviewed, when gratitude is felt, and when tomorrow is gently imagined. And in English, this nighttime inner voice is one of the most expressive and revealing forms of language there is. So let's shadow the night reflection together. Listen. I am in bed now. The room is dark and quiet. The sounds of the day have faded away, and I find myself lying here, thinking back over everything that happened today. The morning, the commute, the work, the conversations, the lunch, the evening, the whole shape of the day laid out quietly in my memory. Shadow it. I am in bed now. The room is dark and quiet. The sounds of the day have faded. I lie here thinking back over everything. The morning, the commute, the work, the conversations, the lunch, the evening, the whole shape of the day laid out in my memory. Now let's reflect on the specific moments of the day. Listen. Some moments stood out more than others. The conversation with my colleague at lunch was good. I felt genuinely connected and heard. The report I finished this afternoon gave me a real sense of accomplishment. And this evening, the quiet cooking, the simple dinner, the time on the sofa felt exactly like what I needed. Shadow it. Some moments stood out. The conversation at lunch felt genuine and connecting. The finished report gave me real accomplishment. And this evening, the cooking, the simple dinner, the time on the sofa was exactly what I needed. Now let's practice some deeper night reflection English. The kind of honest and thoughtful language that people rarely speak aloud, but that represents the truest and most personal form of inner expression. Listen. I think about the version of myself that showed up today. Was I patient? Was I focused? Was I kind to the people around me? Mostly yes. Not perfectly, but mostly. And that is what I aim for. Not perfection. Just showing up and trying. Shadow it. I think about the version of myself that showed up today. Was I patient? Was I focused? Was I kind? Mostly yes. Not perfectly, but mostly. That is what I aim for. Not perfection. Just showing up and trying. Now let's add a gratitude reflection. Listen. Before I sleep, I want to acknowledge 3 things I am grateful for today. 1. I had a productive and relatively smooth day at work. 2. I had a genuine and warm conversation with someone I care about. And 3. I practiced my English today. Every single moment of this day, I practiced my English. And that feels like something worth being proud of. Shadow it. Before I sleep, I acknowledge 3 things I am grateful for. A productive and smooth day at work. A genuine and warm conversation with someone I care about. And practicing my English. Every moment of this day, I practiced my English. And that is worth being proud of. Now we reach the final and perhaps most beautiful part of our day together, the night reflection. But before we begin that reflection, I want us to do one final mindful body awareness practice together. Because the transition from a full active day into sleep is one of the most important moments for both your physical and mental well-being. And practicing it in English makes it simultaneously a mindfulness exercise and a language exercise. So listen and shadow this bedtime body awareness sequence. Listen. I am lying down now. I feel the weight of my body settling into the mattress beneath me. I let my shoulders drop and release any remaining tension. My arms feel heavy and relaxed at my sides. My legs are still and comfortable. My breathing is naturally slowing down. And my mind, which has been so active all day, is beginning to quieten. Shadow it. I am lying down. I feel my body settling into the mattress. My shoulders drop and release tension. My arms are heavy and relaxed. My legs are still and comfortable. My breathing is slowing. My mind, which has been so active all day, is beginning to quieten. Now let's add one more body awareness sentence. Listen. With every breath, I feel a little more relaxed, a little more heavy, a little more ready for sleep. The day has been full and real, and I have shown up for it completely. And now I am giving my body and my mind the rest they have genuinely earned. Shadow it. With every breath, I feel more relaxed, more heavy, more ready for sleep. The day has been full and real, and I have shown up for it completely. Now I give my body and mind the rest they have genuinely earned. These gentle and deeply calming sentences bring the full arc of our day to a beautifully peaceful close. Now let's do one final extended shadowing sequence that captures the full arc of our day together. Listen to this completely first, and then shadow it with me in sections. Today was a full and real day. It started in the dark of the early morning with a quiet alarm and the choice to get up. It moved through the familiar rhythm of a morning routine, a warm drink, a commute through a waking city. It held the quiet satisfaction of work done well and conversations that felt natural and genuine. It offered the small pleasure of a simple lunch and a mid-afternoon moment of focus regained. It ended with the walk home, the releasing of the day at the front door, the warmth of a kitchen and a meal made with simple ingredients and quiet intention. And now here, in the final darkness before sleep, it closes with honesty and gratitude and the gentle promise of another day tomorrow. That was today. In English, every moment of it. Shadow it in sections. Today was a full and real day. It started in the dark of the morning with a quiet alarm and the choice to get up. It moved through the rhythm of a morning routine, a warm drink, a commute through a waking city. It held the satisfaction of work done well and conversations that felt genuine. It offered the pleasure of a simple lunch and a moment of focus regained. It ended with the walk home, the releasing of the day at the door, the warmth of a kitchen and a meal made with simple ingredients. And now, in the final darkness before sleep, it closes with honesty and gratitude and the gentle promise of another day tomorrow. That was today. In English, every moment of it. Let those words be the last English of your day. Now let's practice talking about tomorrow, because one of the most natural and forward-looking forms of English expression is planning and anticipating what comes next. And doing this at the end of the day, in the quiet of the evening, feels both reflective and purposeful. Listen. Before I sleep, I think briefly about tomorrow, not in a stressful way, just a gentle awareness of what the next day holds. There is a meeting I want to prepare a little for, a message I want to send first thing in the morning, and a commitment to myself to get outside for some fresh air at some point during the day. Shadow it. Before I sleep, I think briefly about tomorrow, not stressfully, just a gentle awareness of what it holds. A meeting to prepare for, a message to send first thing, a commitment to get outside for fresh air at some point. Now let's add some tomorrow planning phrases that are useful in everyday English. Shadow these with me. Listen. Tomorrow, I want to start earlier than I did today. I find that the first hour of the morning sets the tone for everything that follows. Shadow it. Tomorrow, I want to start earlier than today. The first hour of the morning sets the tone for everything that follows. Now another. Listen. There is one thing I did not manage to finish today that I want to prioritize first thing tomorrow. I do not want to carry it into the next day with any sense of guilt or incompleteness. Shadow it. There is one thing I did not finish today. I want to prioritize it first thing tomorrow. I do not want to carry it into the next day with any sense of guilt or incompleteness. And one more. Listen. I am looking forward to tomorrow, actually. There are some things on the agenda that genuinely interest me, and I feel rested enough right now to approach it with real energy and enthusiasm. Shadow it. I am looking forward to tomorrow. Some things on the agenda genuinely interest me. I feel rested enough to approach it with real energy and enthusiasm. These forward-looking nighttime sentences build a beautiful continuity between days, and they train your brain to think ahead in English, which is one of the most sophisticated cognitive uses of a second language. Now, let's practice one more area of nighttime English that is deeply personal and deeply important: self-compassion. Because at the end of a full day, a kind and honest assessment of yourself is one of the most healing things you can offer. And being able to do that in English means your language has reached a genuinely intimate and personal level. Listen, I think about the moments today when I was not at my best. The moment in the afternoon when I felt impatient. The email I could have worded more carefully. The conversation where I was half present and half somewhere else. I acknowledge those moments, not with harshness, but with honesty and a gentle intention to do a little better tomorrow. Shadow it. I think about the moments I was not at my best, the impatience in the afternoon, the email I could have worded more carefully, the conversation where I was only half present. I acknowledge those moments, not with harshness, but with honesty and a gentle intention to do better tomorrow. Now, let's add a final self-compassion reflection. Listen. I also remind myself of all the things I did well today. The focus I maintained when it was hard. The patience I showed in the difficult moment at work. The genuine warmth I brought to the lunchtime conversation. The effort I made to cook something real for dinner rather than reaching for something easy and unsatisfying. I did well today. Not perfectly, but well. And that is enough. Shadow it. I remind myself of what I did well. The focus when it was hard. The patience in the difficult moment. The warmth in the lunchtime conversation. The effort to cook something real. I did well today. Not perfectly, but well. And that is enough. These sentences of honest and compassionate self-reflection are some of the most sophisticated and emotionally intelligent English in this entire script. And practicing them means your English has reached the most personal and authentic place it can reach. The place where language and life are truly one. Now, let's shadow our very final reflection of this entire session. Listen. I did something remarkable today. I lived my whole day in English, not just the study part, not just the formal learning time, but the whole thing. The morning thoughts, the commute observations, the work conversations, the lunchtime connection, the afternoon focus, the evening cooking, the nighttime reflection, all of it in English. And that is what real fluency looks like. Not a perfect score on a test, but a whole day lived and thought and felt in a language that is becoming more mine with every single day that passes. Shadow it. I lived my whole day in English, not just the study part, the whole thing. Morning thoughts, commute observations, work conversations, lunchtime connection, afternoon focus, evening cooking, nighttime reflection. All of it in English. That is what real fluency looks like. A whole day lived and thought and felt in a language that is becoming more mine every single day. Let those final words rest with you as you close your eyes tonight. You have completed one full day in English. And before I say anything else, I want you to take a moment right now to appreciate what you just did. You did not sit down and study grammar. You did not memorize vocabulary lists. You did not take a test or fill in blanks or translate sentences back and forth. You lived a day in English from beginning to end. And that is a fundamentally different kind of learning. It is the kind that builds real fluency, the kind that stays with you, the kind that changes how you think and feel in the language, rather than just what you know about it. And I want to say something else that I believe very deeply. The fact that you showed up for this entire session, that you stayed with it from the alarm in the dark morning to the quiet reflection before sleep, says everything about the kind of learner you are. You are not looking for shortcuts. You are not hoping for an easy path. You understand that real fluency is built through real practice, through showing up consistently, through immersing yourself in the language the way you immersed yourself today. And that understanding, that patience and commitment, is worth more than any grammar book or exam score ever could be. So carry today with you the morning sentences, the commute observations, the workplace conversations, the lunchtime warmth, the afternoon self-talk, the unexpected train delay you handled calmly, the phone call you navigated confidently, the difficult conversation you approached with tact and care, the evening cooking and the journal thoughts, and the weekend plans and the night reflections. All of it was English. All of it was you. And all of it is now stored somewhere in your brain, making you a little more fluent, a little more natural, and a little more confident than you were when the alarm went off this morning. And now, as this day truly comes to its end, I want to leave you with one final thought. One full day in English is not just a practice session. It is a proof of concept, a demonstration to yourself that English can live inside every hour of your day, not just in the classroom, not just in the study session, but in the kitchen and the commute and the workplace and the lunchroom and the evening sofa and the quiet dark of the bedroom. English belongs everywhere in your life, and the more you invite it in, the more naturally it will come. So tomorrow morning when the alarm goes off and the room is dark and warm, and the last thing you want to do is get up, shadow a sentence. Just one. The alarm just went off. The room is dark and warm. I do not want to get up yet. But getting up is the right thing to do. And you will have begun another full day in English, one sentence at a time, one moment at a time, one beautiful, ordinary, extraordinary day at a time. If today's full-day journey felt powerful and different from any English lesson you have ever had, then please subscribe to English in Moments and turn on your notifications so you never miss a new lesson.